So you've got your new Royal Enfield Himalayan 450 and are now wondering how should you be doing the running in of the brand new engine correctly. And you're wondering because you are a wise person who knows that the recently popular notion that modern engines do not need any running in is absolutely incorrect. In fact, you ask any mechanical engineer in your circle and that he would tell you that running in is absolutely critical. And if you look up the owner's manuals of every manufacturer, okay, they would have some kind of a mention regarding the break-in or the running in of a new engine. Okay, so yes, running in is crucial. And before I go ahead and tell you exactly what are the do's and don'ts, let me quickly tell you that there is just one reason why running in is important. Okay, and that is you have to ensure that the piston rings, they conform to the cylinder liner. Now, although I've said that I would not get into too much technicality, but you must know this, that despite the advancements in technology, the cylinder bore, the liner, has distortions, okay, from 0 level distortion, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, that would be a long topic. The crux of the matter is, in simpler terms, you want the piston ring to have that tight a bond with the cylinder liner that is actually stronger than, say, your and your partner's bond in your previous relationship. And what are the advantages, you ask? Well, for starters, longevity of the engine, great engine health. That means that you would be able to enjoy the power and torque that this engine was, or any engine for that matter, was designed to produce for a longer period of time. You would be reaping the benefits of great fuel efficiency for a longer period of time if you do the running in correctly. And there would be next to zero blow by. That basically means that your vehicle would not be eating engine oil, so you would not be topping up engine oil every now and then. Now, one more thing, although this is a media unit, but since this was a brand new motorcycle that Royal Enfield gave me, it had around 13 kilometers on the clock, and even those 13 kilometers can be explained. So the bikes are transported from Chennai to Delhi, Pune and Bombay. I'm in Delhi, and they are unloaded at a specific place, and from there they're ridden to the showrooms. Basically one showroom in Saket, from where the bikes are sent to, or journalists, they come and pick up the bike, their test unit. So my test unit had just 13 kilometers on the clock. So yeah, from where they're unloaded to Saket, that's roughly around 9-10 kilometers, and then the person goes up to the fuel station, fills it up completely before handing it over to the journalist. So those 13 kilometers can be explained in that manner. And the point that I was trying to come at is that unlike almost every other journalist that abuses media units right from day one, I did not do that. I did the running in properly for the first 500 kilometers, and thereafter I began my testing. Okay, in fact, I ran in the bike exactly in the manner that I'll be telling you in this video. So there are essentially 4 or 5 things that you need to keep in mind before I start the bike and tell you the other things. The first thing actually starts before even you start the engine. Okay, that happens at the time of delivery. 10 out of 10 times you'll notice that the motorcycle you're purchasing has underinflated tires. So the first thing that you will be doing is bumping up the tire pressure up to 32 psi front and rear. And why do you do that? See, have you ever pushed a punctured motorcycle? Okay, So you would understand that it takes a lot of effort to do that, especially if it's a heavy motorcycle. Okay, now when you push that, when the tires are properly inflated, it's a cinch. Same thing the engine goes through. Okay, when the tires are underinflated, it has to work harder. Okay, when the tires are properly inflated, it does not have to work harder. Okay, so that's the first thing that you'll do. The second thing that you'll do, you will start the engine, let it idle for at least 2 minutes. Okay, in fact, I must add here that Royal Enfield's owner's manual for this motorcycle is one of the best that I have seen in recent times. They have broken down the running in procedure fantastically. They have, of course, the first point that I shared with you, they have not mentioned that, and they would again, they have not mentioned it in the running in procedure. But then it's sheer common sense that you should be running the motorcycle with properly inflated tires, but then they have listed every other thing, but rather than asking you to just follow it blindly, in fact you can do that. You will be sorted, your bike will be sorted if you follow it blindly. But since you're watching this video, okay, you will learn more valuable information in here, and I will in fact even tell you what from the manual, okay, what are those points that you do not have to follow or you have to do differently, because they are crucial. That is why I made this video, okay, so that you can avoid a certain points that could be harmful to your engine if not followed exactly in the manner they're supposed to be. Okay, so yeah, this video will give you a better overall running in procedure than is mentioned in the manual, although it's beautiful at the cost of repetition. Okay, let me open the visor. So number 2, you have to warm up the engine. Okay, the minimum requirement is 2 minutes, 120 seconds. 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Okay, I would suggest right now in Delhi winters, I would let it idle for at least 3 minutes. Okay, and then you start. And the third point, and from here on I'll be riding the motorcycle and telling you all about it, because that entails riding the motorcycle. Your question would be, at what RPM or at what speeds do I change gears? Okay, what is the maximum RPM cap during the running in period? Alright, so let me address these two first. 0 to 500 kilometers, Royal Enfield says the RPM capping is 4000 RPM. Okay, and they also mentioned the speeds at which you should be changing upshifting. Let me show it to you rather. Okay, so Royal Enfield says that you should be shifting to second at 20 kilometers per hour. Now I want you to watch the RPM as well. So 20 kilometers per hour is 3000 RPM, right? And then they say you shift up to third gear at 30 kilometers per hour, which is again 3000 RPM. Then they say you shift up to fourth gear at 40 kilometers per hour, that is just above 3000 RPM again. Then they say you shift to fifth at, you know what, you're watching it on your screen right now, they say at 60 kilometers per hour you go, and that's 4000 RPM, right? So rather than putting a screenshot, no, in fact, you did see that screenshot, right? Now sixth gear, they say you should be upshifting at 75 kilometers per hour. Now when you do that, you notice that you have already overshot the 4000 mark, right? Now I'll tell you, from this list what you have to follow and what you don't have to follow. Okay, and I'll have to start with the second gear itself. Alright, so You upshift to second gear at 20. Yes, you should follow that. Here onwards, you would not follow the owner's manual, okay? And I'll tell you the reason. So they say that you should shift to 30. You should shift to third gear at 30. No, you will be shifting at 35, and I'll tell you why. If you watch my tractability video, okay, you will understand why. Let me briefly tell it to you here. Because at the speeds Royal Enfield asks you to shift up, okay, I'm talking about from second to third, you are not supposed to shift up at 30. Shift above 35, otherwise you'll be lugging the engine. And let me tell you, lugging the engine is 1000 times worse than even redlining a new engine. Okay, you understand the gravity of it? Please do not do that. So you shift to third at 35. Then Royal Enfield says that you should be shifting to fourth at what? 40? No sir, you will be shifting to fourth at 50 kilometers per hour. Alright, again the same reason. If you do that, okay, you run the risk of lugging the engine. And Royal Enfield says you shift to fifth gear at what? 60 kilometers per hour, and they are absolutely right. You can do that. You would not be lugging the engine. Now they also say that you shift up to sixth at 75 kilometers per hour. Yes, you can do that. You should be doing that. So now you know what parts of the owner's manual you have to follow and what you don't have to follow. And wait, there's more. Now they say that you have to, cap it up to 4000 RPM. And if you saw already, when you shift to 6th gear at 75, you have already shot that limit, okay, by just a wee bit, but you have shot that limit, right? So, and the peak torque produced of this motorcycle, okay, is at 5500 RPM, right? So that basically means even in the first 500 kilometers, even in the first 50 kilometers, okay, especially in 4th, 5th and 6th gears, please do not worry about taking the RPM needle to way past 4000 to 4500, 5000 RPM. Please do not be hesitant, but do so gradually, okay? That is the operative word, gradually. You bring it up in 6th gear, you bring it up to 5000 RPM, you leave the throttle, let it come down to 4000 RPM, 80 kilometers per hour, again bring it back to 5000 RPM, okay? This is called varying the throttle, not riding at a constant speed. That's the enemy, alright? So, see, in fact, in the manual also, they tell you to not ride at a constant speed, keep varying the speed by 10%. So for example, if you are at 80 kilometers per hour in 6th gear at 4000 RPM, 10% would be 8 kilometers, right? So that would be 72. So 72. But then, see, the bike protested. See, you cannot keep a very keen eye on the road, and the moment it comes down to 72, you will pull it back up. In fact, even at 72, the bike is not really happy. You'll watch my tractability video, you'll understand. Okay, I have advised that moment you get below 70, you shift to 5th. All right. Instead, while running on an open highway, on an open expressway like this, I would suggest the safer alternative is that once you are in 6th gear, okay, you again take, okay, you come up to 80, okay, you bring it, you take it up to 90, okay. If you are hesitant to take it up to 100, leave the throttle, let it come back to 80, repeat, okay. Even in the first 500 kilometers, if you take it up to 100 in 6th gear, okay, it is not a problem at all. Let it come back to 80, take it back up to 100. But for any reason, if you are hesitant or if you do not have the space to do that, okay, see, the moment it gets down below 70, it protests. So ideally you should be downshifting. To avoid that, because you have to concentrate on the road as well, okay, taking it from 80 to 90, then back to 80 is better, because the moment you let it come down to 80, okay, and there is a microsecond delay in you opening the throttle again, the speed goes down to 78, 76. It does not go down below 75. Okay, so you are not lugging the engine at any point in time. Okay, see, once again, you take it up to 90, you leave the throttle, you wait for it to come down to 80, and then you start. So the moment you've started to pull up, okay, the speedo by the time has reached to 78, 77, 76. So pulling it in 6th gear from 75 kilometers per hour onwards is not lugging the engine. Alright, so the crux is of this section, okay, I'll summarize at the end of the video, that try this, especially North India, this is the best weather to buy a motorcycle to, so because you'll be running in the engine in beautiful cold weather, okay, the engine would not overheat. So for the first 500 kilometers, see, the first point remains the same, at any kilometer, of the odometer reading, you might be proper air pressure. And the second point would also be valid everywhere, that you have to see. Again, at the cost of repetition, if you check my tractability video, I have said in that the moment you drop down below 20 in 2nd gear, you shift down to 1st. Okay, do not be afraid to do that. Okay, you should be only be afraid of lugging the engine. All right, so the RPM limits, follow what you saw in this video and not what you read or will read in the owner's manual. Okay, I'll just stop for a second and check whether GoPro is actually recording the audio or not. Alright, so this is recording the audio as well, and it's become a long video, but I'm sure you will agree that a very important video. Alright, now what after 500 kilometers? You can continue to follow this, okay, or what you can do is, after 500 kilometers, 1st gear, take it up to 4000 RPM, that's 30 kilometers per hour. 2nd gear, 5000 RPM, 3rd gear, 5000 RPM, 4th gear, 5000 RPM, 5th gear, 5000 RPM. Yup, you can do that. Alright, so you still away from the peak torque mark at 5500 RPM. again, without getting into too much technicality, that means you are safe, right? Do not lug the engine. Okay, that's the only thing that you should be afraid of. Do not in any gear ride at a constant speed like this. Let me show you, give you an example. For example, for example, you would not, okay, take it up to you would not be riding like this in any gear, no matter what speed it is. Now your question would be, how do I manage in traffic? So what do you do in traffic? Okay, you are in first gear. Okay, for example, now you have stopped. Okay, so what you'll do, you do this and then you stop, right? Okay, the moment there is a bigger gap, you leave the clutch fully, increase the speed. So essentially the point is, you should not be riding at half clutch. Now the owner's manual mentions it, but it would be misinterpreted by many, by many YouTubers as well. What is half clutch riding? This is not half clutch riding. Okay, half clutch riding is that you just keep it here all the time. That is not how you should be riding. Okay, you should be, so the correct way is, you leave the clutch, the bike starts moving, and then your idea should be that you will leave it completely if you have the space, and if you do not have the space, you will pull it in completely. Okay, you would not keep it at the biting point. That is not supposed to be done in any situation. Okay, you either slowly leave it completely. Okay, so you should be leaving the clutch slowly or pulling it in. This or this, not this. All right, so you do that, and the moment you cross 20, okay, you shift into second. So once again, you are in traffic, okay, and you do this and you stop again because the vehicle in front of you has stopped. All right, now depending upon, of course, if there is a slope, or like for example, it might not be visible, there is kind of an incline over here. Okay, so you do this and then you start leaving the clutch. Okay, and again you stopped. Now there is a bigger gap. The idea is to leave the clutch as early as possible. Leave the clutch completely. Okay, the idea is to leave the clutch completely as early as possible, so that the plates are not dragging, to minimize the drag. Okay, what is drag? I just told you that the clutch plates are not dragging against each other. They are supposed to work together, okay, like a good marriage. So and let me just, and what happens after 2000 kilometers? Okay, you can take it beyond 6000 rpm for sure. Okay, however, don't don't abuse it, in the sense, don't ride it at the red line continuously. All right, for example, what you can do after 2000 kilometers, you can do this. All right, to 8,000 RPM and you bring it back. Yes, you can. It can be done. Just don't keep it pinned, at near the red line. All right, and you will be sorted. In fact, the best approach would be, see, like I said, this is a media bike, and I did run it in properly the first 500 kilometers. For example, had this, if I had the bike for like say 3 months, then I would have done the complete run in till 2000 kilometers and then started my testing. I did not have that liberty. In fact, I got the bike for the same amount of time as all other journalists, and I still managed to run it in properly for the first 500 kilometers. You do the same. You do the full running in up to 2000 kilometers, and even then, okay, I would say that you try not to take it beyond 7,000 RPM, okay, until the third service, okay, until the second service. I would say the first service would be at 500, the second would be at 5,000 kilometers, okay. And in fact, even if you want to take it to the red line before 5,000 kilometers on the Odo, you do that. Just don't stay over there, okay. You take it and bring it back. I hope you like this video, and if you have any questions whatsoever about this motorcycle, please put them in the comment section below. I will answer each and every one, and provided of course you are asking questions about the motorcycle. All right, and do subscribe if you haven't already. See, and yeah, is there yeah, the customary request, do hit that like button as well, or did I say that earlier? Anyway guys, please do like, do share, do subscribe, and I'll see you soon in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.